Hey there, everyone. Joshua Short, Lauren Moss with you right now. What you're looking at is the Caesars Superdome. This is the site of the Sugar Bowl set to kick off in just about 3.5 hours from now at 4 o'clock. But this is obviously not the big story of the day.
No, of course, this game comes after yesterday's game. It was supposed to happen yesterday, right? It's been postponed to today after a horrific terrorist attack in the city of New Orleans.
And we can officially say that the FBI is saying just a short time ago in a news conference that this is being looked into as a terror attack.
Yeah.
We heard from the mayor of New Orleans. We heard from the governor of Louisiana as well. Full-throated that they are going to continue on with life as normal, so to speak. And I'm paraphrasing there. But obviously so much happening over the last 36 hours since this terror attack happened.
Yeah.
We got a lot of updates too just a short time ago as well. We now have the number of people who were killed.
So yesterday, there were conflicting reports. At first, they were saying a lower number. It then went up to 15. They can now say 14 people have been killed, plus the suspect. So in all, 15 people killed. But that suspect is being accused of killing 14 others.
Yeah, and you can see that suspect right here on your screen. That is a suspect right now. Obviously, you've heard his name, so we're not going to say his name because we want to bring attention more to the victims of anything, which we'll talk about later on in this broadcast, wherever you're watching us or streaming right now. But you're seeing some of the video from that horrific night, that tragic night, New Year's Eve, really New Year's Day, technically just after midnight, but New Year's Eve celebrations continuing on. We're learning a little bit about him as well. One thing we can now say, there is no definitive link. That is what the FBI is saying between this video and that video that everyone saw with the Tesla blowing up in front of the Trump Hotel in Vegas.
Right, that cyber
Because there were some
truck.
connections at first.
Absolutely, people were worried. You heard about that just after this attack happened. That cyber truck was filled allegedly with canisters of gas plus fireworks. Amazingly, that fire was pretty much contained to just the truck.
It was contained, and as we know right now, no one was killed, and so that is good news there, but still scary nonetheless. You can imagine people just wondering what was going on yesterday.
Right, and officials today are still saying, listen, we are 24 hours into the investigation, a lot more can happen, but at this time we can say there is no definitive link between what happened in New Orleans and what happened in Vegas. Also, another big update.
And you can see it there. No, as of right now, they are believing, they being the FBI and investigators, say he may have acted alone. Now, that was different from yesterday. The posture entirely different, a 180, because you heard the chief of police there, the superintendent of police in New Orleans, along with others saying that if you know anyone who may have been related, because we believe he may have had accomplices in this, they're now saying they believe he acted alone, a lone wolf, so to speak. And so that is a big update and a sigh of relief somewhat for a lot of people out there, I can imagine.
Oh yeah, yesterday people were very worried, of course. People were still hanging out around Bourbon Street, not knowing, is this a safe area to be? They were looking for more devices. They were clearing different areas. In fact, they found at least two, I believe they confirmed today.
That is correct.
2 absolute bombs that were set up in coolers that did not go off on corners of streets throughout New Orleans.
Investigators asking people who may have stopped to look at the coolers, they are wanting to question them, not because they believe you are suspects, but because there may be something that can help in their investigation. You're looking at the Caesars Superdome right now because obviously another story that we're following, which we've been talking about, the Sugar Bowl, that is set to start tonight. Now, I know that was not the original plan because as yesterday, it was moved to today. It was supposed to be yesterday, but obviously in light of the events that took place there, it did not happen. But so many people, Lauren, saying that this is now, the governor said it, the safest place, one of the safest places in the world, with this unprecedented response from so many officials.
They said every resource they have, the FBI, locally, everyone is really in there in New Orleans to make sure that everything is safe, ready to go. And they can confidently say, we can host this game. Every safety precaution is being held right now. We're good to go. In fact, I wanted to bring up Bourbon Street reopening. That's a big point. They said around 2 o'clock this afternoon, vendors can go back into the businesses and allow people to come in before the game. So that's how confident they are in this safety plan.
That sets us up as a perfect transition, I think, to someone who is near Bourbon Street right now. Anthony Ritchie, we are joined by him now. You're going to see him momentarily. Anthony, it is so good to see you. Anthony, thank you for joining us where you are right now.
Good to hear from you.
Can you first off talk to us about your reaction? You were, along with your wife, are in New Orleans right now. You were there when things went down. You were outside on Bourbon Street just hours before this took place. Give us a little bit of an update on how you're doing and your initial reactions.
Yeah, we were out on we're on Canal Street here. Our hotel's right across the street from Bourbon and Royal. We were out with everybody else, just enjoying the evening. Uh, we were on Bourbon Street earlier in the evening, but fortunately for us, we decided to go up because our floor is high enough that we were able to see fireworks around you see them there on the horizon. And so that's why we returned to our room. And so we were not, where the incident actually happened. We were, above it. But there was so much noise from the fireworks and everybody just having a good time that you didn't think twice until the morning when our phones started going crazy. All our team members reaching out trying to see that we were.
And with that, Anthony, what was your reaction when you first heard, oh my goodness, an attack happened, 14 people killed right on the street where you just were hours before?
Yeah, it's scary. It's sad. Not knowing, somebody that we were talking to on the elevator or something could have been involved, or on the street at the time. So hearts go out to everybody that was suffering from this incident.
We were just looking at some video, and we're about to look at it once more. You guys are pretty close to this crime scene, so to speak, where you guys are staying right now. Give us some perspective of where that is, what floor you guys were on, if you're able to do that.
Yeah, the hotel overlooks Canal Street, and then so right you see all the police cars and that are Bourbon Street. They've been putting up new barricades and that to allow people to go down the street. Yesterday we were able to go down Royal Street, which is over here, runs parallel, and we visited some of the locations there. I mean, local news was saying, avoid the area and all that, but if you're a tourist from out of town, you don't have anywhere else to go. So, we stuck to the hotel nearby and, ventured out to get food and things like that. But all the business owners were really pleased with the police presence and how thoroughly they were, scanning for explosives and things like that.
Talk about the vibe there today. Obviously, you decided to stay for the game. I know some fans obviously couldn't. What are you feeling on Bourbon Street today on Canal Street?
And it's a little lower key than earlier in the week, but overall positive. I mean, everybody is just being polite and calm. Uh, Everybody's kind of going through the same thing, so it's like we want to try to stay as normal as possible and get ready for the game.
Is there
But
like this? Is there? Forgive me for interrupting you, Anthony. Is there like this sense of like defiance there right now? Because that's what you heard from the governor. The governor says, they were asked, how do you feel that this is going to be safe to have the Sugar Bowl within 36 to 48 hours of this terrorist attack? And his response was, it was simple. He says, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Is that the sense from folks who are still there right now? It's this act of defiance that we've been through things before here in this city, whether you're a tourist or whether you're a native?
Yeah, other people that we talked to last night, they wanted to stay. They wanted to, be here for the city and for Notre Dame, but they just couldn't manage some people couldn't manage the flights or the hotel or whatever and had to return. We were lucky enough to be able to extend it, and we're getting ready to go to the game now.
Were you ever at all worried about going or second guessing, hey, maybe we shouldn't go today?
The thought goes through your head, but at the same time, with the number of departments that are out here and how thorough they're being, I said to my wife, probably it's one of the safest cities you can be in right now.
That's true.
I mean, it is. We just heard a second ago that someone say this is one of the safest places in the world right now because of the unprecedented response from emergency officials.
Yeah.
What are you hoping for? I guess we can leave off and tie the bow with this. What are you hoping for today? Obviously, the game itself, because we are talking about a game here. But
Yeah.
What are you expecting in that regard? And just all around, what are you seeing out there right now? I can imagine a 180 from this time yesterday.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that fans, players, everybody alike just are civil with each other and just enjoy the game. Win or lose, everybody be a good sport and just enjoy each other's company.
Absolutely. I mean, we were even talking earlier, the city of New Orleans been through so much with Katrina. You can't have Bourbon Street closed down on a day like today because that's how the terrorists win, right?
Yeah.
That's their motive, is to cause as much disruption as they can. And of course, we're thinking of the victims, the 14 people killed. But this shows we got to move on. We got to be strong and carry on, right?
Yep.
That's-
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can't give them their power.
Well, yeah, you can't enable that
Yeah.
idea, right? We are so appreciative of you, Anthony. Thank you so much for joining us, and please stay safe, you and your wife there as well. And I think it's appropriate to say, because you have on the garb itself, go Irish.
Yes, I think so. Come on.
Go Irish.
Go Irish. Go Irish.
Thank
Go
you. And
Irish,
thank you
yes.
for sending in those photos and pictures and videos as well. It really helped us tell the story while you're down there. And again, you are safe and your wife is safe. We'll check in with you soon. Thank you so much for that. And again, that's one of those, it's one of those situations where you try your best to tell the story, but in this case, this is where sports, this is where news became one, and in such a disturbing way.
Yeah.
In the worst way.
I know. And we had so many locals down there. I mean, thousands of people traveling to this game. And when you saw the news, the first thing on New Year's Day, it's a tragedy.
Yeah.
And you think the worst, and you just want to make sure everyone is safe. And it's
How did you
sad.
find out about this? When did you find out? Where were you? Obviously, this is big for us news people.
Right. I was in Ohio for a wedding on New Year's Eve. So when we woke up, we first saw the news on X, and I'm like, no way. And my fiance brought up, oh, it happened in New Orleans. I'm like, that's where the Sugar Bowl is also happening. We know so many of our family, our friends down there right now, and it was scary. How about you?
It was really scary. Same thing yesterday. I woke up a little bit late because obviously New Year's Eve,
Right.
And so we were off yesterday, and I woke up just after noontime, and the first thing I usually do is go on Instagram, but then I actually had a missed call from our boss.
Oh, wow.
And it was a butt dial. It really was. It was a butt dial. So I said, hey, is everything okay at the station? He's like, yeah, we're working on the news of the day, of course, but everything's fine. I think I called you by accident. I said, oh, okay, bye. So what's the news of the day, right? So the first thing I did after that was go on Instagram, and I saw that, and I called him right back, was like, wait, what? Because he's got a lot of connections to New Orleans.
Right.
He's worked there, he lived there, and all this other stuff. And so for us, it was just kind of hard to for me at least, hard to wrap my head around, because
Right.
this is in such a popular place. Oh, and yeah, by the way, it's in an area that's supposed to host a Super Bowl. It's supposed to have Mardi Gras in a few weeks, and then we were supposed to have the Sugar Bowl.
And then not only that, but the overwhelming amount of information that comes out right away, right? Social media is filled with rumors, a lot of disinformation
lot
too
of
revolving
misinformation
this.
as well.
And
Yep.
people just trying to get anything out about this, and it was overwhelming.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest part of all of this, is that a lot of folks, I could say this, we had a lot of people, regular people, and then we had folks who are also in offices and in office here locally and in other places that are putting things out on social media that you're like, wait a minute, I don't know if this is true or accurate. And that's the danger about in situations like this, because news happens so fast, people want to be the reporter.
Even with the postponement of the game, right?
Oh,
We
my
didn't know
goodness.
for sure. The only station at that time early on that was reporting it was the NBC station in New Orleans, our sister station, because we obviously work for NBC too. But at that time, they were the only ones reporting it, not at ESPN, nothing from the Sugar Bowl committee. We have our reporters down there too, and they're saying, hey, we're not hearing that right now. So we had to wait for that.
I got sources within the team, close to the team,
Yeah.
who was like, I don't
We
know
have no
about this.
idea.
You guys are saying this, and it may not be true. So I'm, the journalists and us are like,
Right.
wait, what's going on?
Is it happening or not?
It's in that situation, obviously we were the first to report it, and we were accurate in that regard, because I think a lot of people wanted to know. They have family members down there. What's going to happen with the
A
game?
lot of people were, I think, even nervous yesterday, saying, how can that game go on? How can we cheer for a football game on a day where such a tragedy happened, and your mind was racing? So I in my opinion, not that totally matters. I think they
But
did
I
the right
think
thing
that's
by
fair to
holding
say.
the game
A lot
today.
of people, I mean,
yeah.
and you'll hear a little bit later on, Sheriff Redmond is on his way back here of the county. St. Joe County Sheriff Bill Redmond is on his way back to St. Joseph County right now, in fact, on a flight from New Orleans, because he and his wife are supposed to be at the game. And they originally planned to come back today. They did not decide to stay for the game. But a lot of people are in that right now, that weird space mentally
Right.
and emotionally.
Right.
The airport was packed with fans from both Georgia and Notre
even
Dame.
emotions aside, the logistics of having to stay for another game, a lot of people had plans, had work that they had to get back to, not to mention hotels,
Yeah.
which we are hearing from some people in New Orleans. I believe it was from Anthony Ritchie's wife, and actually, who told us that the hotel was able to do a deep discount
Wow.
to keep people there for one more night.
Wow.
Because you think of people traveling there, the amount of people on Bourbon Street for New Year's Eve, the amount of people going for this game, and just to enjoy the city.
Man.
It's a lot of people, and to have to accommodate people to stay one more night.
Oh, really quickly, I'm going to show you guys the video that we have of just some of the victims before we say goodbye. You are seeing this right now. These are just some of the victims. I say that, and I want to stress that because more pictures are coming in. I believe we just had an update about another victim who's been identified as an Auburn graduate.
Yeah.
And so you're just, I mean, your heart just goes out to these families, to their friends, to their loved ones. You hate, I mean, you just look at these photos, you see some of them are football players, and some of them are just normal people.
Fathers, brothers,
Yeah.
sisters, moms,
it's
dads. And
heartbreaking.
here's the thing, it's New Year's Eve. It's supposed to be fun. You're supposed to be welcoming this new beginning of 2025, a new year. And these people went out to have a great time. Even the last text, this is actually the last text from that football player who passed away, was to his family saying Happy New Year just hours before.
That's
being killed.
one of the things that I think, and I want to come back out for this because I want folks to really understand how powerful community is, even if you're not from New Orleans. One of the first things that alums and fans of Notre Dame did is they went to Mass.
Right.
And they came together and
Right.
they prayed for other folks. It was no
Right.
longer about sports at that moment.
No.
It was about humanity, right? And you saw that, and I think that was the most powerful parts of yesterday. Marcus Freeman also spoke about that as well last night, I believe.
Right. I believe I have it.
Yeah, well,
Pull it
and
back.
she can read it off her phone momentarily, but it just shows you how strangers are no longer strangers in times like this.
Yeah.
And it speaks a lot about how human nature perseveres through every ugly act, including terrorism itself.
Right, you can't let that win. In fact, Marcus Freeman, this is coming from ESPN, saying, in the toughest moments, the culture of any program, of a nation, are revealed. I have a lot of faith we're going to rally around the city of New Orleans.
Yeah, it's powerful. It really is. I want to leave you guys with somewhat of good news and all
Right,
of this.
because this is, they even the officials today are saying, it's safe now. We remember the victims. We're thinking of all the family members today, but we are New Orleans strong, and we all went through something terrible, but now we have to rally back, right?
You heard that from Anthony a little bit a short time ago too. It's like rallying back through the face of adversity. That is what makes us who we are.
Right.
And I think that is, I mean, as I turn to this story here, Caesars Superdome, this place, you can only assume is going to be packed regardless whether or not people are leaving. That means
Right.
more seats available, right? And it's a huge place. Let's be real, but this is huge for both teams involved. And
It
you're
is, and
looking at
they've worked so hard
Yeah.
all season long to get to
Yes.
this position.
Yes, and obviously it's a little bit earlier than originally scheduled. It was supposed to be originally scheduled for tonight at 7:45, 8:45 Eastern. However, they have pushed it a little bit earlier, so it is going to be at 4 o'clock Eastern time.
Right.
We're going to be on air doing the news, so whoever's watching us, we thank you. We get it.
Maybe during halftime.
Maybe during halftime, you guys can check us out. But we get it. The Sugar Bowl will continue on tonight, and there's a lot of hype around that game. It's a big game. And just like, ironically, how the college football playoffs started with the Fighting Irish being on their own, the only team playing on TV, that's how we're doing it today. It's the only team playing on TV today.
Right, on ESPN.
All eyes are going to be on ESPN, especially here in South Bend, Indiana, and all the fans who made their way to New Orleans as well, their families who are here. We can only think about what you had to go through over the last 36
Right.
hours as well, trying to make sure your family members were safe too.
I know so many people reached out to me even, and I'm sure you too, asking, hey, have you guys heard anything more? I'm still waiting to hear back from my family member, and let us know when you know what's going on there, because we're still waiting to hear. And just that panic and that
it's cold comfort.
It's
cold
tough.
comfort because you answer the phone, you hear from your loved ones, and then you look at the news, you realize 30-something people can't say the same. You know what I mean? They're hurt, or in this case, 14 people didn't make it out. It's just really tough. It's really tough news. So with all of that said, we are continuing our coverage, of course, of the game itself. We'll have everything you need to know. We'll have updates throughout the show on the scores and everything like that, because we'll be watching while we're doing the news.
we'll be in there. But Jackson Hoover and Sabrina are both down there right now, and so they'll have, like I said, behind the scenes, game updates, everything you need to know.
And look, both Jackson Neal and Sabrina Hoover, who've been down there reporting, they have been reporting on this game, and then they had to turn that switch.
Right.
And they had to turn the switch on to the story of the day.
Right.
And kudos to them and all that they've had to do. They've had to change logistically, right, in
Yeah.
terms of how long they had to stay down. They had the flight back and all that stuff, the hotel reservation, all of those things. And so we just give them our prayers and kudos because they are safe. They're doing well. They were not on Bourbon Street when it all happened, but obviously
Right
they
before
are
it.
tourists too.
Yeah.
I mean, they're working, but when they're done off the clock, I can imagine it's New Year's Eve. They're like, hey, you know what? Let's look at the fireworks. So thankfully, they are okay, and we are lucky to say that.
Even as our bosses said in our morning meeting, if you've never been to New Orleans, everything is rallied around this like entertainment center, right? Like all the hotels. So everyone is really in this one area where, unfortunately, this this horrible act occurred.
This is right now a live look from New Orleans at the Caesars Superdome. You're looking at it as we are. I'm going to get this lower third out of the way because Lauren just talked about it, and look at it. Now, you're seeing a lot of red out there. It's the South. We get it. We get it.
The Irish fans are still going out there. Don't worry.
But the Irish fans, they are there. We know they are there. We can tell you that. And we are excited for the game itself. And I can tell you right now, a lot of security measures have been implemented. We've been talking about that throughout the day. Today's show actually had an in-depth reporting on that as well. You can kind of see the folks that are just getting on to the grounds there. This would be 11:49 local time.
I mean,
so,
you think about the local fans who have been waiting so long for this moment, another, you know, a great Cotton Bowl appearance from the Irish team, how long they've been waiting. Maybe these were Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
So the fact that we're seeing people gather around this stadium is a nice sight to see today.
And this is obviously a big deal because you talk about
Oh,
what
Sugar
happened.
Bowl. I'm sorry, I said Cotton Bowl.
Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl. Yeah,
What
yeah,
am
yeah.
I talking
No, it's okay. Listen, they're all bowls.
Last night? Was it last night?
That was last night. It had to be the one.
That's what it
No,
is.
that was
My
the
bad.
Rose Bowl last night. But then yesterday, I think the Cotton Bowl. You guys get which bowl it is.
Listen.
Google when the Cotton Bowl was, because I'm curious. 'Cause you were watching games yesterday too, so maybe that's why you got confused. The Cotton Bowl is.
Not till January 10th, but
Yep,
okay, my
you're
bad.
Looking into the future. That's what we do as
At least we
journalists.
said Sugar Bowl.
You see it there, Sugar Bowl. You know what it is. But anyways, this is the story of the day,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people are excited, despite what happened yesterday, and we have to cover all angles of it, right?
Right.
But people are excited because there is a game today, and look, the path to this championship, Oregon, they're gone. The Ducks lost.
know,
The
it's
undefeated
A
team.
lot of wild football has been
A
happening.
lot. And so we'll see what happens with this game. But this is, I mean, look, we'll see what happens. I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah, it should be a good game,
it should
and
be
I
a good
think they're going to be playing with a little bit even more oomph after everything
think
both
so.
teams have been through now in the
I think,
city.
as I hear all the time, they're going to play with intention now, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, not that they needed any inspiration nonetheless, because I think the coaches are prepared them just fine. But something like this happens, and you get the camaraderie from the fan base
Totally,
and the
and the
community surrounding
city.
it.
You're like
And
they're
the city.
forever connected now to the city of New Orleans.
I think so. I think you have that. I think so. I think that's fair to say. And that's what we're going to leave you with is a shot of New Orleans. I think that this is the best way to leave this off because hard to believe, but 36 or so hours ago, we were talking about a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
And now, regardless of what your feelings are or not, because I get that, I get both sides of it. Trust us, we get it. There is an event that is going to happen in that city that is the center of the nation right now.
Right.
And I think this is an act of sincere defiance from the people of New Orleans to say we will continue on. And not just the people of New Orleans, those visiting as
You're
well.
right, and if you missed us mention it at the top of us starting this, Bourbon Street is reopening today at 2:45. So they want restaurants, they want bars, they want people back on the street to enjoy
I
themselves.
think so. I think that's a fair statement. That does it for us.
Which sounds,
Yeah, go ahead.
you know, wild to say out loud, but then again,
No, I get it. And,
You
and
think
I,
about
I
it.
want to bring us back on because I think it's important for folks to understand. I think that we get all sides of it.
Totally.
As news folks, as human beings.
we're still, I mean, it's still a shocking,
It's a shock.
yeah.
It's a shock that and I think this is something that so many reporters asked the governor and the mayor and the superintendent of police yesterday is, do you feel like you should delay it another day? Do you feel
Right.
like you should go on right now, the security up in the air? But the FBI and so many of the officials made it plain, this is one of the safest places in the world right now.
Absolutely.
We're going to move on, and we're going to move on with those victims in mind.
They have every agency from the federal level to local, state, you name it. Everyone is in that city right now.
Keep in mind, they had to. This was a conversation with both teams, ESPN, everything yesterday, of federal officials, to make sure that this was the right thing to do, and everyone agreed that it was.
You heard from Marcus Freeman. They want to rally around the city of New Orleans. You can't shut down. You can't hide, because that's how, sadly, the motive of this terrorist act wins, right?
That's how. That's exactly right. Lauren Moss, you nailed it there. I appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you guys watching us. Wherever you guys watching us right now, whether it's on Facebook Live or whether it's on our apps, we really do appreciate you guys watching us. We wanted to bring you this coverage and say thank you, and thank Anthony as well. I know he was watching and listening in even after he was done with us.
Yeah.
So many people saying go Irish out there, so I think it's fair to say go Irish.
Go Irish. A big go Irish today.
And we'll see you at 4 o'clock. If you have any sense, though, you'd be watching the game itself, if you're able, of course. But if you are watching us, we are so glad to be giving you the news tonight at 4 o'clock. We'll update you on everything that we know, including the situation that happened yesterday, along with contemporaneous updates on the game itself, which starts off at 4 o'clock as well. We'll see you soon.